fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome to the Temple of Speed. Not necessarily something one would say about the Skip Barber car, but a great circuit that allows a lot of time at wide open throttle. What does that mean? Probably means close pack racing here in Ozicar Skip Barber Series Thursday night on Simspeed TV. 2 races ahead of us, and my goodness, are we looking forward to that. David Haynes, joined by Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy on the production. Jason, delightful to be here in Italy, home of the Euros.
Yep, sun shining, perfect weather for Skippy Racing. Welcome Jay and David to another broadcast. It's getting down towards the final end of the season, so there's going to be some strategy in play tonight, no doubt. There's going to be some thinking ahead as to how the rest of the season's going to pan out. So we had a debut winner last week in the forms of James Chastanoff. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs tonight. So there's quite a bit to look at as the race unfolds.
Including Jay Kennedy clicking the correct button, getting us the correct stand. This is Ozicar Skip Barber Series Championship standings. And, Formula V's haven't fully gone his way. That's what you saw in the previous graphic. But in Skip Barber so far, he leads the championship from Ben Snell, from Russell Clark, and Braden Martin in 4th. James Chastanoff, you mentioned there, in 5th, 1 point clear of Sean McKenzie. Then it's Donald Sabanol, Dennis Hancock, Matthew Mites, and Timothy Harris. Well, it is going to be interesting, no doubt here. You always look towards what could happen at turn 1 here at Monza. But leading the charge, the Stampede of Skippies down towards turn 1 on lap 1. It's going to be Ben Snell, with Alex McKellar behind, Donald Sabanel, James Chastanoff, Braden Martin, and Alex John, our top 6. So all of our championship rivals have done pretty well for themselves in qualifying for race 1. They're all going to be at each other's throats from the get-go. Then it's Brady Baldwin, Russell Clark, Matthew Mites, Lee Harrison, Tim Cornt, and Sean McKenzie for our top 12.
Yeah, starting on the 7th row tonight, Sean Doyle is partnered with Ash Knowles, Jeremy Bush, and Nathan Verney. Ran out row number 8. Farron Hancock and Craig Kerman there sitting together side by side of row number 9. And Simon Dobner, Dennis Hancock on row 10. Series organiser Ira Felberg is partnered with Peter Wilkinson on row 11. And David Leon Williams, Jamie Willits tonight, rounding out row 12.
And the rest of our still 30-plus car field is Greg Holmes, Anthony Connors, Darren Lasue, Jason Gainey, Sean Carey. And the first drive with no qualifying time, Philip Paradiso. Track limits can be a bit testy in the qualifying here at Monza. Skariev is race control, and David Summers, no qualifying time there as well. Here is our whole grid. Well, most of them still missing that whole sitter. I think you can see, there they are, and then one more driver there at the front, a few more to fill out the field. And the launch for the Skippy tends to be pretty even across all of our competitors, but where are they going to choose to break in turn 1 for lap 1 of 6? That is where things start getting a little hectic, and from there on out, a lot of high-speed running, a lot of time in 5th gear, top gear of these Skip Barber open wheelers. Really going to see drivers following each other as a snake, following the slipstream, following the draft, everywhere that you can close up on the driver in front. They're all going to be going for it. Easier said than done with 30-plus cars. 10 seconds away from taking the start as well. Those might start to build a little bit. The front 2 rows, Ben Snell, Alex McKellar, Donald Sabanel, James Chastanoff. A lot of green up front It's about to be a lot of revs up front. Lights are on, lights are out. Let's go at Monza, and a pretty even start from everyone up the front as you would expect. It looks like a stalled driver or two right at the back there. Might be Paradiso who was getting mugged a little bit. Still 2 even lines down towards turn 1.
Yeah, it looked like someone there either didn't select the gear or didn't start their car in time, so that caused a little bit of congestion at the back of the field. But as we make our way down through chicane number 1 tonight, everyone giving each other plenty of room. Looks like the leaders are all making their way through. Some of them are side-by-side, 2x2, and there's a couple of them are single file. Bit of smoke there in the background, but so far, no real carnage to talk of at this point.
1 or 2 drivers tripping over each other through the first chicane, but up the front for the lead, side-by-side, McKellar and Snell. And McKellar is going to steal that lead away, heading into towards the second chicane. Look at them all jumping across the curve. Some drivers a little out of line. Tyres will still be cold at this point of this race, and the track is hot. And as always, a driver or two skipping the chicane, and whoa, that Brady Baldwin's rejoin might have caught out Sean Doyle.
Yeah, Brady, they're getting caught up going into the left-right there of the second chicane, and then got himself all sorts of sideways, lost a whole heap of speed, and then will come back across the track. And not the perfect start to the race he wanted. He was looking to capitalise after a disappointing race won last week. Showed really good speed, but didn't actually get to see the checkered flag in one of the heats last week. So he'll be looking to re-improve and capitalise on another points haul tonight.
Frog up front, Ben Snell back to the lead ahead of McKellar, Chastanoff, Sabanel and Braden Martin in touch as well. And then a little bit of a gap between the top 5 and some of those behind. Now here's Chastanoff looking towards the inside before the Parabolica. He's going to get ahead of McKellar. Is he going to get all the way to the front ahead of Ben Snell? That looks like he is. So already a lot of change just in lap 1 up the front. Oh, no rear grip there as well as he tried to put the power down, tried to follow the narrow line. Not sure that was fully optimal. He's going to hug the inside. There's plenty of opportunity here with the slipstream for Snell to come around the outside. Alex McKellar, I think, to just glide along in 3rd place is what he's going for.
Yeah, you mentioned slipstream and obviously being the temple of speed. Very, very important here. You'll see a lot of the guys further back in the pack going single file at the moment. We do have a 6-lap race tonight over our 15-minute time period for race number 1. So we're at the end of lap number 1. Still a little bit of time to get into a rhythm and get some moves done. No need to do anything silly just yet. Completely different discipline to what we had last week at the oval race. So different mindset for the guys to get into tonight. So make sure they get that checkered flag come the end of lap number 6.
Time flies when you're having Skip Barber fun. I swear last week was Le Mans 24, but it wasn't. I don't know. We're here at Monza now, that's for sure. And you can see more side-by-side through the second chicane. I think that was Sabanel and Martin and Alex John there. And you can see Alex John, he's to the inside here for the 2 Lesmos. You can use a little bit of the runoff here, but not too much. Still side by side, and they get to this sharper corner that ends this complex, and you really don't want to be side by side there. Russell Clark we ride on board with. Nowhere to go. So much more speed, trying to pick and choose a line, and nothing was forthcoming. It's starting to fracture the train, the draft packs up front, where it looks like Snell is now going to get back ahead of Chastanoff, and they're going to hand that one back and forth another time. More side-by-side, this time through Ascari.
Yeah, very fast section of the track with a change of direction a couple of times. So these tyres should have plenty of heat in them by now, so the drivers should well and truly be able to make their way through there without too much incident, without putting the commentator's curse on anybody. So we are getting to the end of the lap number 2 now, so tyre temperatures should no longer be an issue.
Yeah, certainly a lot of drivers pushing for some more moves. This is where we saw the rear get skatey for some drivers on lap 1. Particularly, I'm thinking James Chastanoff, no problems for him now as he's got a huge head of speed around the outside. 3 wide for the lead, why not? But McKellar is really, with that championship lead, playing the long game, I think, here. Just rolling out, falling back in line. No such concern like that behind, though, where I think I see a little bit more 3 wide. McKellar's happy to sit in 3rd and see Chastanoff and Ben Snell trade that lead, but it's allowed Donald Sabanel to catch them back up. And there comes the rest of the pack. Bit of a lock-up, a little bit of smoke, and that's someone missing the chicane. Who would that be? That's going to give you a slowdown penalty every day of the week.
Yeah, it's the shortest distance, but it's not necessarily the quickest way around the track by skipping through that little chicane there. It's obviously caught someone out there in the braking zone. We're going 3 wide earlier into that corner before they went single file, so someone obviously went a little bit too deep and opted to take the escape road and live to fight another day, albeit with a time penalty.
So everyone in the top 20 in a battle as 2 laps have been completed in race 1 at Monza here. And up the front, obviously they've been trading those positions, but there's a lot of other great battles that we saw down the field. Tim Cornt leading a little train, Jamie Willett's leading a bit of a train, Dennis Hancock, who's he got right behind him? It's Brady Baldwin and Farron Hancocks. Again, Hancock and Hancocks always seem to be together on track. The other week we had the 2 Snells together on track, which apparently, I've been corrected, are not... it's entirely coincidental. They're not Snellatives.
I don't know whether you're going to get invited back after that tonight, David. Very well done. Anyway, we get back to the racing. Still a sea of green up the front, separated by a little pink flash of James Chastanoff as he looks to the inside now. He is going 3 wide into this this corner.
And the patience has finally worn off for Alex McKellar. He's gone 2 for 1 and he's swept through into the lead. But crucially, he's maybe gone out a little wide there, and some of the drivers who take the shorter run around Parabolica in these low horsepower cars can kind of come off best. So Chastanoff is already back to the lead, despite McKellar from the inside, Parabolica throwing it deep into the corner. And now, half of the race done, still half of it to go, fellas. They are in formation, like the Red Arrows or something, coming down the pit straight.
Yeah, except it's not a sea of red, it's a sea of green. The top split TV and the Milo cars there, which we've seen dominate most of the season, again are at the front. Chastanoff in the Locked On Lads pink and blue livery, very, very distinctive. You see a spin there in the back as I talk about the Locked On cars. That's Tim Cornt there, currently returning to the track after just being outside the top 10. So he's going to find himself closer to the top 20 now. So he's going to... got 2.5 laps now to recover, but that's going to make things pretty difficult for him.
This is up the front. Chastanoff leading. Snell in second. McKellar in third. Donald Sabanel still in fourth, making it a 4-car battle up front. Through the 2 Lesmos they go. This second one is that they're just coming up to now is a real challenge. The track limits have been stiffened up a little bit on the exit there, and you can see all of our drivers getting it on the curb, but not too far out onto the AstroTurf. So don't want to get penalised for going all the way out there. But it's crucial to carry the speed then onto this little straight that heads downhill underneath the old banking and then back up towards Ascari. And through all of that, Ben Snell gets the position and then gets to slot back in line. So that's good for him. Also good for Chastanoff that they didn't have to fight too wide through this, because the minute they start fighting, look at all those drivers behind. Braden Martin is just a second adrift, and then he's got three cars in his little pack. And Alex John fighting back after that slowdown penalty is also within sucking distance. So McKellar now also ahead of Chastanoff as the 4 continue to... is it working together, or is it just symbiotic for the moment, but all hell will break loose on the last lap?
Yeah, it's like we've seen all season, these guys have been running wheel to wheel, and most of the time they've done it without incident, so I don't think they necessarily work as a team, even with the 2 Milo cars there side by side. Donald Sabanel's certainly proven throughout this season that he isn't one to shy away from sticking his nose in if the opportunity arises.
So it's 3 wide briefly for the lead. Alex John's taking them 3 wide further back as well, and he 2 positions back and then has gone and claimed them all. Once again, a little bit of contact there between Mackenzie. Who's Mackenzie battling with? It was Sean Doyle there. So Doyle and Mackenzie exchanged wheels, but have managed to keep those wheels on their wagon and carry on for 2 more trips around Monza in this race number 1, but it has cost them a little bit of time to Alex John and Ashley Knowles battling up ahead. Of course, the lead battle has never been more than half a second or so. Look at Knowles throwing it into that chicane on the exit, kicking up the dirt. Very, very expressive.
What you'll notice, though, is that little group of 3 that was floating behind the top 4 has now become a group of 7. So just as we get towards the business end of the race number 1, it's just opened up opportunities, and you had a 25% chance of winning this race, and now it's dropped down to about 15. So there'll be guys watching their mirrors as well as what's happening in front of them. So good opportunity to have eyes in the back of your head.
Yeah, no doubt. So that top 7 pack closing up, this continuing to be just crazy between Alex John and Ashley Knowles. Both of them really throwing it into the corner, fighting for that position. John's going to have a good run, a good line through Ascari. Do need to be careful of some of those sausage curbs that will really upset this car. And then up front, they know that after the Parabolica, it's going to be the white flag. In towards turn 1, often one of the greatest places to make a move. It's all about the positioning, the jockeying now to start off the final lap if they want to be the winner, but it might still come down to a little bit of luck. So 7 cars battling for the lead, 5 cars battling in the next pack, and that's what you see on both of the screens right now. To take the white flag at Monza, Alex McKellar leads, Chastanov pulls out, and then some of the Milo cars might follow him. The Milo cars are going to try to split the gap, you know. Ben Snell from the middle into the lead of the race. That then becomes the inside as Alex McKellar very wisely backs out of that particular one. Going to try to hold his spot in second or third. Snell leading, but all of that will close up on the way to the second chicane. Will close up towards Ascari, and then it might just be who is fastest through the Parabolica at the end of this lap. But through Curva Grande, they're already going too wide. They're going to go too wide in this pack as well. And someone has come to grief in the first chicane, and it's Jeremy Bush. Unfortunately, not getting his final lap off to a great start. Looks like he'd recover and continue. Snell leading from McKellar, from Chastanov.
Yeah, there'll be some mind games here on this final lap. No one will potentially want to lead going into that back straight, going into Ascari there on the final lap. We've seen Chastanov dive to the right-hand side of the track pretty much all race, and that leaves him on the inside for turn number 1. But if everyone works together and gets a slipstream happening on the left-hand side, he might find himself hung out to dry.
Sean McKenzie's hung out to dry, and his rear wing is hung totally off, and that suspension is... he's going to have to... He can limp that thing around, I suspect, but he's not going to be getting a great finishing result out of that one. Meanwhile, these are your leaders. These are the drivers battling for a win in Ozicar Skip Barber Series. It's Ben Snell with his nose out front. It's Alex McKellar next in line. Chastanov is going to have his hands full with Clark and Sabinel and Martin behind. And look at that, Ben Snell wheels all the way to the right line, defending the inside line for the Parabolica. McKellar with a lot of speed is going to look around the outside. It didn't go well for him earlier, and then the battle for second there, Chastanov really sliding it in, but off the final corner in the drag race to the checkered flag. I think the inside has benefited Snell. He just needs that line to come up early, taking the shortest possible run. McKellar, oh so close. I think McKellar's gone and hinged that one. Another Monza photo finish.
McKellar second by 0.000 of a second.
So, officially scored a dead heat between McKellar and Ben Snell for the win. And how many seconds to cover everyone up the front? Probably 1 second to cover 5 or 6 cars up the front there as well. We're going to take a replay of that one because Ben Snell did everything he could to defend that. The short run around Parabolica, and then McKellar just with enough speed, just getting to the line in time. This is what happened to Mackenzie, battling around the outside of Alex John in the first Lesmo. Does Mackenzie get loose and come across John there and then backwards into the wall? That's a lot of damage for both of them. But the suspension, especially from that angle, you could see the back left and the rear wing horribly disfigured for Mackenzie. The front right, not good for Alex John either. So that's what happened to them on the final lap. But what about that lead battle? Monza for a long time was the venue with the closest Formula One finish measured at, 0.01 of a second, as best they could do it back in the day. But this, you can see the finishing line about to come up. McKellar to the left, Ben Snell to the right, and the timing line is there. And it's a dead heat. But McKellar, fractionally, and we mean sub 1,000th of a second fractionally ahead, first to the line around the outside. That is a lucky win. If you were in the grandstands, you'd have a great look at Barney's position, but that is how close they were. Nothing in that. You wouldn't even be able to tell with a pair of binoculars. But if we timing, official timing, electronic timing tells us Alex McKellar.
If we run with that, David, if you watch the second and third place...
No, it doesn't. It says Ben Snell now.
Yeah, Ben took the win, yep. But Chastanoff and Russell Clark was also separated by 0.02 of a second. So it's a storyboard you couldn't write.
And even with that finish line coming up so early out of the final corner, still some of these drivers managing to make a run there. Another photo finish there. My goodness. It's a good thing that they all managed to keep that pack together and make it to the checkered flag without too much damage, though, because I thought they were going to battle like that a lap earlier. It might have ended in tears. Let's get the official timing results after that crazy race one here at Monza. So Ben Snell wins by blink and you would have missed it. From Alex McKellar, officially a dead heat that Ben Snell holds onto. Chastanoff, huge margin, 0.02 of a second, clear of Russell Clark for the final podium spot there. Then Braden Martin in 5th. Those new pedals must be really helping him keep up with the big boys. And then Donald Savinell 6th, Matthew Might 7th, Sean Doyle in 8th, Ash Knowles in 9th, and Nathan Verney to bring out the top 10.
Incredible racing there. Jamie Willetts just outside the top 10 in position number 11 tonight. He was followed across the line by Craig Kerman with Dennis Hancock and Alex John crossing the line in 14th after that last lap contact with Mackenzie. Tim Cornt doing well after his spin there halfway through the race. He recovered to finish 15th, followed by Lee Harrison, Simon Dobner, Farron Hancock's, Anthony Connors in P19, and Peter Wilkinson, who's been out fishing for tips and tricks and advice all week to try and pick up his speed in the race, scoring P20 tonight.
And then in 21st, Brady Baldwin from Jeremy Bush, Ira Felberg, Greg Hobbs, Philip Paradiso, Sean Carey, Sean McKenzie did manage to limp it around to a finish after that massive damage we saw on the final lap, but only 27th, just ahead of David Summers. And then this is sort of pit stops for damage and retirements. Darren Lesieux, Jason Gainey, and Leon Williams. So let's all take a breath from race one of Ozicar Skip Barber Series at Monza. Take a little break here on Simspeed TV, and in a minute or so, we'll be back for race two, where we have double the action and hopefully a battle as closely fought as we just saw in race one. Little break, and then we're back with race two.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year, but the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
Buongiorno, and now that I've exhausted all of my Italian, welcome back to Ozicar Skip Barber Series at Autodromo Nazionale Monza, which is helpfully written all across the circuit there. We have coming up right now qualifying for race 2. Then we jump into that 30-minute compulsory pit stop race. Well, we saw in the first qualifying, Jason, that there were a couple drivers who didn't lay down a time. With this shootout one-lap qualifying coming up, I wonder if that's also a risk again.
Yeah, it's very much make or break scenario with that one-lap qualifying session. It's worked well for the series though. It's something that was implemented, I think, last season, and they've carried it across into this one. And as we've seen as the season's progressed, it's certainly caught a few people out with the likes of Nathan Verney or Alex John, Donald Sabinow finding themselves back at the rear end of the grid where they're not normally used to being situated, and then as a result they've had to fight their way through the field. So it's definitely a practice that seems to be working for the Ozicar series, and it adds a bit of spice to our commentary.
Sure, definitely does. So, see, maybe we'll pick up a particular driver to follow at some point. They all appear to be mostly on their outlaps at the moment, I would imagine. Coming around a big track like Monza, plenty of opportunity for those tyres to be warm for the one shootout lap, not like some of the smaller tracks we went to. Goodness, I think of USA International, where it really looked like everyone was struggling with the tyre temp for that one shootout lap.
Yeah, these radial tiles are, you've actually got to work them relatively hard to get those heat into them. But once you do, they will hang on forever and a day. So lap time around here is in excess of 2 minutes, I think it is, in the Skip Barbers. So plenty of opportunity, like you said, chicanes, left, right turns, heavy braking zones. So it's really up to driver error as opposed to not necessarily getting the car up to speed.
Here's Sean Carey coming through the Parabolica, taking that short line that was so successful for Ben Snell, and he is going to start his first flying lap. Timing line comes up about where the gantry is there, And now the clock begins ticking. Still a long run down this pit straight towards the first chicane. And still a long run down. All the while thinking about 200, 150, 100, picking the braking marker, picking the line. Pretty narrow entry, I would have to say. That looks like it washes out a little wide. Still gets to the second apex, and then it is just flat out up through the gears for another long run, absolutely flat out through this Curva Grande. And then you got to pick your braking marker in the shade underneath the bridge for the next chicane.
Yeah, probably one of the most critical braking markers to hit on the track because it leads into Lesmo 1 and 2, and then, of course, the fastest part of the circuit as you make your way down the back straight into the second third of the course. So critical, a good drive out of here. So Sean got a little bit loose there on the entry, and it's going to jeopardise his speed here into Lesmo 1. But there will be an opportunity to get a nice sweeping curve and bend through here and line himself up for Lesmo 2, and then the big long run down the back straight.
Yeah, your lap to count. You've got to be very careful with the track limits on the exit of the second Lesmo here, and he keeps it tidily just touching the curb. Speed, a little kink here, and then the track heads downhill underneath the old banking and towards the braking zone for Ascari. Looking at a different onboard angle here now. Searches for the braking point, a downshift or two. And then how much of the curb dare we attack through here? I think most of it's fair game except for that nasty little one on the final apex, which if you hit it will cause you to understeer straight towards the wall. The other ones I think you can get away with a little nudge on, but then it's one more braking zone to round out a lap of Monza. And probably not a particularly heavy braking marker because braking point because you get to carry a lot of speed through Parabolica as well. Again, that tight line on the apex, just flat out from here, and hoping that the lap is going to count, and then it'll put you somewhere you're comfortable.
So we've already got a number of drivers that have registered a time. Donald Sabinow at the moment sitting on top of the drivers chart with a 2-minute 14.8. He's got about a 0.3 of a second gap to Chastanoff there, sitting in second. So we get to that point of the qualifying session where most people have had a chance to at least get that first lap in underway. While I've been watching things, I have seen a couple of people put it into the wall and reset before they actually got on their flying lap. So we may have a couple at the back of the field now. Ben Snell's one that we normally see up the front. Alex John too is still set to put in a lap time. So there could be some movement up the pointy end of the field just at the moment.
Mighty sideways on the initial turn in for the Snell sensation into the Parabolica, but this is his patented tried and true line, the shortest run to the timing loop for Ben Snell. Where is it going to put him? It's going to put him in fourth, still 0.4 of a second away from what McKellar could manage. Ash Knowles with a very Italian-looking livery. Those coffee beans look amazing. But is the time going to look amazing when he works his way through the Parabolica? Again, the rear looking real skaty. Track temp 43 Celsius. Enough to roast those coffee beans. Knowles is going to come towards the timing line. And where is it going to put him? So far, 21 drivers with a time on the board. Now 22 as Knowles goes to 7th.
Yeah, very tight up the pointy end of the field now. The top two drivers, Alex McKellar and Donald Sabinow, well into the 14s. We still do have the likes of Alex John on his flying lap at the moment and Russell Clark. So a couple of still green cars out there. A bit late to set their time, but they've still got some time up their sleeve to finish this lap before qualifying finishes. So really the whole field's separated by less than 3 and a bit seconds. So... yeah, one chance to get a good flying lap in. It looks like most people have actually managed to accompany that.
I can actually see a couple of drivers as well that are scored as having completed a lap, but don't have... they're shown as having used their qualifying time without actually setting a time to the board. So Philip Paradiso, Jason Gainey, Sean Carey, and David Summers, all of them look like they attempted a lap. It wasn't successful. But some of the drivers later on here, Alex John and Russell Clark, they've gone 5th and 6th respectively. So not bad from some of the drivers who were a bit later out on track. And it's Nathan Verney practicing his pit entry that I could hear. 2 minutes left in the session. Only driver out there is Farron Hancock, and I think he's on a flying lap. Is he not? I think we might have actually caught him coming to the start of a lap.
Just making his way through Lesmo 2 as we speak. So he was one of the ones I think that I saw spin quite early on. So he's obviously reset. Don't know whether there's any strategy behind this, seeing what other people set. You just got to go out there and do your own thing, put in your best lap time, and see where you end up, where the cards fall at the end of your flying lap. So I don't think he's going to be any real threat to the guys up the front, but he certainly could shake things up midfield.
Pretty tidy line through Ascari, except maybe a little aggressive over that final extra little bit of curbing. The black and yellow speed bump that you might see in the car park at your local supermarket. Hancock is going to take one last bite at the cherry here, looking for some turns, some poise through Parabolica. Front was really washed out there. I mean, there was a lot of right hand down and just didn't look like it had bit, and the car had wanted to rotate right at the start, but he still navigates it cleanly for a 2:16, which is going to, if it counts, which I don't think, has it?
Yeah, I think it has.
Oh, it has. It's put in 14th. Yes. Yep.
So something I didn't mention in race 1 was I saw sparks coming at the back of Russell Clark's car there quite early in the race. So I think he might have been carrying a little bit of damage, and hitting some of those sausage curbs you were talking about, David, will do that to your suspension. We do have a longer race this time. We have a 12-lap race around this circuit, so you really haven't got time to get too much damage.
Yeah, also could grab your front wing or something, and then it might drop down and scrape if you had a little bit of contact or jumped across some of those curbs too aggressively. But for race 2, lock in the grid. This is what it looks like. Another pole for Stella Alex McKellar, joined on the front row by Donald Sabinell, James Chastanoff, Ben Snell behind, then Alex John and Russell Clark. Some very familiar suspects for race 2 at Monza. Then Matthew Mites, Nathan Verney, Lee Harrison, Ash Knowles, Sean Doyle, and Braden Martin.
Sean McKenzie and Farron Hancock there, as we saw him the final one to set a time on row number 7 tonight. Jeremy Bush is partnered with Brady Baldwin, and Dennis Hancock, row number 9 in the 822. He is sitting alongside Jamie Willits. Tim Cornt, a long way back from where he's used to being, on row number 10 with Anthony Connors. Craig Kerman and Simon Dobner there, row number 11. Peter Wilkinson setting a good time, starting on row number 12. He is in great company with the car number 84, Greg Holmes.
In the remainder of our field, Ira Felberg and Leon Williams, the last driver with a qualifying time. Here's someone we mentioned who in that shootout missed out, didn't get a clean lap in. It's Darren Lesieux, Philip Paradiso, and Nick Scarry of his race control. Jason Gainey, David Summers, and Sean Carey. But that doesn't exclude them from gridding up for race 2, where there's still plenty of time, plenty of racing, and of course, a compulsory pit stop. Here they are, that beautiful Monza pit building in the background. It's going to get used once in the race by everyone. They've got to come in and change 2 tyres. They could do it at the end of lap 1, or they could do it lap 11. Big, wide pit window. What to do on a Grand Prix track like this with a field of 30 plus cars? That's a question particularly those in the top 10 are going to be thinking about, scratching their heads while they've got to be engaged in this battle that is going to break out in a couple seconds time as we lock, load, launch them into race 2 for Ozicar Skip Barber Series at Monza. You're looking there at old man and championship leader Alex McKellar. He revs it. He's waiting for the green light. He gets away. And again, pretty even everywhere around the top 10. I think James Chastanoff got it just perfect, just sweet though. Unfortunately, he's tucked up behind McKellar with Sabinell to the inside and nowhere to go on the outside against the side of the track with the great launch that he had. Then in towards turn 1, always a massive accordion concertina effect. Cars almost coming to a stop in the middle of the field there, and they all spread out on the exit here, and we keep racing. Clean stuff from everyone.
Yeah, I can't see too much smoke in the background, which is obviously a good sign for everybody. It means everyone's still got their wings and all 4 wheels are still touching the ground. So it's a positive start to the race after a little bit of smoke and brake lock up in race number 1. There was a big sea of Milo cars there on the inside going into turn number 1, and I thought they might have worked together to hold that inside line, but they did sort of fan out into the braking zone. A couple jumped in behind Chastity there, and there's a little bit of talk in the background. Race control happening, but I think everybody's still pointing in the right direction.
Saw Knowles off the track, seeing just a tiny bit of a touch there for 25, and get out wide. Now too wide through the second Lesmo. It looks pretty single file from everyone up front until you get to about here. Sean McKenzie engaged in a little bit of battle, and immediately behind him that's Mites and Knowles trying to go side by side underneath the old track. Leader still Alex McKellar. No leapfrogging for the lead like we had initially seen last race, but that might all happen once they start to get away from the rest of the field a little bit.
Yeah, Sean McKenzie taking the rallycross line through the S's there, taking to the gravel, but he's managed to keep going again. So after his little crab excursion on the way back to the line last night, he's found himself in a little bit of off-track action already here on lap number 1 while the tyres still warm up.
Those tyres don't look particularly warm for Ben Snell yet, as he's all the way out across the green stuff. McKellar and Sabinel to his inside. McKellar going for the pit lane very early. His teammate Alex John is going to follow him in there. A little bit of a nudge as they all close up. I can see Ash Knowles in there as well, and I can see Sean Doyle in the back half of the field are all about this early pit stop.
Yeah, everybody pitting for ice cream at the end of lap number 1. It did work for James Chastanoff last week at the Oval. He was one of the first one to pit lead at the end of lap number 1. And although finding himself back buried in traffic for the remainder of the race, he come up with the chocolates at the end with a couple of laps to go, found himself in front. So obviously that strategy worked well last week, and there are quite a few drivers playing that same card again tonight.
This Brady Baldwin missing a nose. It's been chopped clean off right at the end there, and that's going to be giving him a great breeze. Probably not a great bit of straight line speed. Willett's right behind him. These guys are 7th and 8th now that some of the other drivers have peeled into the pits. Looks like Willett's quite comfortably on through, assuming he makes the corner, which he does. He looked like he was getting a little hot for a moment there, but the exit tidy enough to take that one away. Now those drivers who have pitted have started to all feed back out, and what has taken Alex McKellar so long on the pit lane, 3 seconds longer than his teammate, 4 seconds longer than Lee Harrison, is now from the lead of the race, the lead pack, 4th in line, but Lee Harrison is going to give him that position. Curious.
So while the front group that did pit sort themselves out, the leader is at the moment up the front of the field. You find Donald Sabinow, Ben Snell, I think, out the front at the moment, is it? Or are we looking at the leaders now in the orange?
Nope, that was the battle still between Willits and Brady Baldwin, I think. These are the drivers out the front who haven't pitted yet. Snell, Sabinel, Russell Clark right behind as well. So a bit of Milo tag team tactics. Same could be happening here for Braden Martin, Nathan Verney, and then McKenzie. Then noseless Baldwin has gotten that spot back. So clearly, at least in the slipstream, he's able to make it work, able to stick with these guys and not falling backwards too rapidly. No surprise, those who didn't pit lap 1 aren't going to pit lap 2. They're still going to hang it out unless they're a little deeper in the pack or they got a little bit of damage. So here comes McKenzie, here comes Baldwin.
Yeah, Baldwin missing his nose there, and obviously good opportunity to keep your feet and your socks cool as the race goes on. But he'll be looking to get that little bit of repair done, because being here is such a critical track where speed is essential. That little bit of damage at the front of the car is obviously going to affect him as the race went on. So good decision there to duck in and try and get that repair done.
So this is looking like the lead, not quite the lead of those who've pitted because Alex John's still ahead of them, but Lee Harrison is now going to take that spot back off Alex McKellar, and those two might leapfrog together for a minute, or McKellar really deeper in there. Lee Harrison toying with him a little bit, I think, as well, and they are second and third of the drivers who have pitted now. Here's where Mackenzie has rejoined, in behind Baldwin and Mites and Ashley Knowles and Sean Doyle. Doyle and Knowles are side by side through Curva Grande. Almost a hit of a squeeze from Doyle there, really keeping Knowles in check. Then there's some behind. Brady Baldwin trying to think 3 wide down the inside of this chicane. I want whatever he had for breakfast if he reckons that's a good idea.
Yeah, big spoonful of courage, but thought better of it as the braking zone came up awfully quick. It has worked in his favour though. He has gained a position through there on the exit of the chicane, so through Lesmo 1 they go and line up to make their way through Lesmo 2. Got to be very careful, as you mentioned earlier. Bit of spark there coming off the back of Ben Snell, so despite very, very wide there in the background for Miley Car.
Something does look wrong for Ben Snell there. I think there might be suspension damage there because he just didn't want to turn right. It's sitting really, really low. And I don't know, is the steering straight? Steering's relatively straight, but something, that wishbone might have collapsed on the front right or something. We'll definitely sort of know when we do spot the difference, and it goes into the pit stall and gets the repair, because then the difference will sort of let you know what was wrong with that car. But it would have lost a lot of time going so wide through the Parabolica.
Yeah, it's a good chance it was those sausage curbs we were talking about earlier in the broadcast. So Ben Snell there, obviously, he was with his 2 teammates at the end of lap number 2, and a forced pit for repairs is obviously going to upset his race strategy. He's going to find himself buried back very, very far. He's disconnected. He's decided to call it quits, pulled the steering wheel off the steering shaft, and he has hung up his boots. Ben Snell.
Wow, that's big for the driver who was second in the championship coming in here. This is a big crash. Sean McKenzie managing to avoid it, but Doyle and Knowles and who else in there really getting fed into the wall, getting stuck into each other. Matthew Mites as well, a lot of damage on his car. Matt at the crunch zone down towards turn 1.
Yeah, I think Chastanoff might have got caught up in that too, in that braking zone. So that could have potential championship effect for some of our challenges at the pointy end of the field.
Knowles and Doyle get together. Pardon me, get locked together. And that's Matthew Mites, who has no chance to respond, becomes a real toboggan there with no front left wheel, no front wing. It's what it looks like from his perspective. He's just slipstreamed past someone else. Now he's watching them go 3 wide in front of him. That tangles, ends in tears, and they bounce back into his path before he could... Well, he might have even been looking for his braking marker at the same time that happened. No guarantee his attention was perfectly forward at that incident that we, on the replay, already knew was going to happen.
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Looks like the 2 Milo cars there still continuing their run forward, so you'd expect them to pit very, very late in this race now. They're going to work together and try and pull a gap. They've still got Alex McKellar back further in the field. He's fitting in some ripping lap times at the moment, so come the end of the race, they'll be very aware of his presence, no doubt. So,
yeah, there's your live gap to the lead. 35 seconds, pretty competitive for the lane times we've been seeing, somewhere between 37, 40 seconds or so. Delta somehow always slightly less than this. Here's McKellar and Harrison. Harrison, is he still playing games with the championship leader? He has the slipstream, he has the speed, he pulls out, and then are we going to see him actually take this spot away from McKellar? Is he going to roll out of the throttle early again? He is, and then immediately drop back in line once more. Surely be quicker and even more respectful if they just leapfrogged with the kind of slipstream we've got. But I don't know what kind of game Lee Harrison is playing. Alex McKellar, though, is still second of all the cars that pitted, still rotating, still out in circulation, and his main rival in Ben Snell, a retirement.
Yeah, if they work together now, he might just be fishing as well. So later in the race, he might have an opportunity to make that pass. And if he throws a few dummies at the moment and Alex gets used to him backing out of it, he could actually catch Alex out of the surprise there and get the move done. So don't know what's going on in his mind at the moment, but racer drivers are a fickle bunch. You just don't know what they're thinking. So my guess, David, is as good as yours.
Well, it's our top 10 out on track that haven't stopped yet. So this battle, Lisieux, Summers and Dobner, they've all cleared their compulsory pit stop. And battle is on till the end, but Lisieux has gone ahead and cleared the whole chicane. That's going to give him a slowdown penalty. Summers and Dobner watch as through the first Lesmo, they're going to go take a spot away from him.
Yeah, I can hear a few drivers in the background. Looks like a race control has decided to stop for a toilet break. We see someone there go bang into the wall. That's where we saw Mackenzie, I think, in race number 1, come unstuck, and Simon Dobner there almost doing a repeat performance, but this time all on his lonesome.
I think he got out wide, caught some of the gravel kind of stuff out there, and then spun around. It's teammates working together with teammates, as we saw Sabanel and Clark out front yet to pit, and then Martin and Verney behind yet to pit. Has Verney just gone and set the fastest lap of the race? No, because the fastest lap of the race still belongs to Alex McKellar, but Verney, working with his teammate there, got mighty close. It's definitely going faster, doing similar speed to McKellar right now.
Yeah, as we watch Peter Wilkinson and Ira Felberg make their way into the heavy braking zone into the first chicane, I think Ira there was getting a little bit squealy under brakes and a little bit sideways, but I think I haven't heard any chatter over the radio. It looks like everybody managed to pull it up and make it through there in one piece.
And look at this, Lee Harrison in front of Alex McKellar now, and maybe that'll all swap back before the next chicane. We wait and see. Yeah, Harrison leaving the inside to Curva Grande open, then he'll be able to swap back into the toe. So long game thinking still from these two guys at the moment, and his teammate Alex John just up the road a little bit.
Yeah, McKellar will want to get rid of Harrison there if they're going to start tripping over each other. He'll be very keen to get on the back of Alex John. And as we can see throughout the rest of the race, a couple of team cars there working side by side together to get the draft, and that will definitely be something Alex will be keen to make the most of as the laps fold down. We are approaching the halfway point of the race here at the moment, and we're still sitting out front, 2 Milo cars in the form of Russell Clark and Donald Sabinow sitting 1 and 2, separated by less than 0.2 of a second.
Guys, still got to be on the gap between Alex John as the lead pitter against Donald Sabinell yet to pit. It's 34.9 right now. That has been closing down just a little bit. Good work all on his lonesome here from John. Look at his teammate McKellar in the background following the regular racing line. Is he going to slot in behind Lee Harrison this time? He might. Meanwhile, Willits and Hancock are on the lane as well, pitting at the halfway point of this race.
Good news is we seem to have race control back in the box now, so things can get back onto normal. I don't think they missed out on too much while they were missing, but drivers will be well aware that the race control is back in and watching everything that's happening at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. Look at them go side by side. Swap that position once again between Harrison and McKellar. Very gentlemanly-like so far. And Braden Martin with the fastest lap of the race now. So his tag team slipstream with Verney has been working pretty well if the two of them are getting close to, fastest laps of the race here. Yet catching the Milo cars in front, not by a whole lot, I'm not sure, but still they don't appear to be losing time working together, which would be the worst. And Harrison pulls out of a move on McKellar into the second chicane. Pretty sure that's the Della Roggia.
My Italian's below par, David, so I'll have to take your word for that.
No, maybe the first one's Della Roggia and the second one's Alta. I can't remember. I'd have to look up the track map, which I should have already done.
That one was Delta Roggia.
Awesome. I'll have a large cappuccino then. And here's Mackenzie, right up behind Baldwin, is it? Sure would be. Hancock just in the background as well. Is there now a race where Baldwin's had his nose proper? Because I think he's it's been knocked off. I'm not going to say he knocked it off because I didn't necessarily see what happened. It could have been something out of his control there. But he had the nose off, gone into the pit, had it replaced, and now it's dented again. You wouldn't lend him your DVD collection.
No.
Finding Nemo would come back scratched. We were talking about are the locked-on teammates of Martin and Verney sufficiently working together to catch the top two? Well, the answer is probably no, as Russell Clark has just gone and rested away the fastest lap of the race, the first and only lap we've seen in the 2:13s today. So that's the kind of stuff they need if they're going to keep, Alex John and Alex McKellar at bay. Here's Jason Gainey just making sure that those new tyres are fitted properly before he leaves the pit lane. I'm assuming that's got to be the thought of the day. So what's the gap like between John and the lead? It's 35.6. So it has gone up ever so slightly, has it not?
Yeah, seems to be. So those two Milo cars out front working pretty well at the moment. But Alex John getting all sorts of sideways there, mounting those curbs. That can't do any good for your suspension, as we've seen already one Milo car suffer consequences of possibly such a thing tonight. So you might be able to get away with one or two of them, but you wouldn't want to do that for the whole 12 laps.
Mackenzie and Baldwin looking really animated in the little scrap that they're having. Mackenzie in so hot to the first apex of the chicane earlier, gets crossed under by Baldwin, who's now defending the inside into the second Lesmo, probably the line you want to be on. But then you've got a long straight that follows it with the driver behind. It's going to have another chance to have yet another dig at you. You can get that position, but it is a hot potato that is hard to hold because opponent behind immediately slipstreams the gap right back up, slingshots right on past again, and bada bing, bada boom, Mackenzie back in front.
Yeah, a little bit of tit for tat between these two drivers, but they've been doing it all race. So what they will have to just keep an eye on is the carb in the background there. I think it's Sean Doyle. So he'll be sitting back watching these two. I wouldn't say trip over each other because they seem to be working relatively well, but he'll be looking for an opportunity to get a little bit of draft, get pulled up onto the back of them, and then make it a three-way battle.
Could happen. Baldwin looking and deciding against down the inside at the Parabolica. Laps are ticking down. 4 to go for these guys when they cross the line. That is 2/3 of the race gone. A third of it still to happen. Alex McKellar's picked up the pace. I think he's caught Alex John for the slipstream and therefore managed to put in the fastest lap of the race. 2:13.7 is pretty damn rapid. You've got to imagine some of that speed has come from just getting onto the fringes of Alex John's slipstream, his teammate in front, riding those coattails for a lap, closing the gap up. Good for McKellar, but not necessarily a great sign for Alex John if he's being caught in this shadow battle that he's having against these two drivers, Clark and Sabinell.
Yeah, it was good for McKellar, but even better for Harrison. So he's found himself on the back of that little group still as well. So they haven't managed to drop him. So he will be a factor if things pan out the way we think they will with these two Milo cars when they finally do pit. And there'll be a sea of green split by some bright orange by the looks of things.
More leapfrog, more slingshot, more... What's it called when two stars are in orbit of each other? I don't know. That was probably going to be a little bit too technical. but it is working so far so good for them. They're going to have to pit eventually and get really close to that pit entry. That's their normal line. It's not going to be yet. I think they're going to save that for as late as they possibly can, because looking at a pit delta of, give or take 35 seconds, they've now cleared, a lot of drives by going long.
Yeah, it's a strategy that we have seen actually work throughout the seasons here in the Skip Barbers. It doesn't happen all that often. Quite often than not, it's the case of the early bird gets the worm. Those who pit early tend to reap the benefits come the end of the race. But it certainly has a strategy that has worked, and the two Milo cars there, and now the two top split TV cars are working together. So that's the only way to do it around this complex where slipstream is absolutely vital, critical.
I have not had a drop to drink, but I am seeing double everywhere we look, with Milo teammates working together, Locked On teammates working together, Top Split TV teammates working together. Is that a new fastest lap of the race for McKellar? It is a 2:12.999. So he has ridiculous pace right now. He can work with his teammate again. And how are they doing compared to Sabanel? I'm seeing him as 36 and a half seconds back. So it's working wonders for McKellar. Just not sure it's working wonders for Alex John.
Yeah, Alex John slipping into the shadow there of his teammate, playing wingman now. So he falls back into the clutches of Harrison. So where Alex John has for the last number of laps had the company of Harrison, they are now split by Alex John. So it'll be interesting to see whether McKellar here actually pulls a gap, whether he's managed to maintain that speed and look after those tyres while he was in pursuit. But time will tell. We'll find out in 3 laps' time.
Yeah, we certainly will. It's actually 2 to go out of the Parabolica here. So I give it then a 3/4 chance. We're about to see these two onto pit lane. Really won't know until the last moment when they dive in, but that certainly looks like it. Look at them go side by side into pit entry. Russell Clark and Donald Sabanel striking a pose on their way into pit lane. Top split guy's going to do similar. Not quite. Braden Martin keeps it in front. Therefore, it's only Peter Wilkinson behind. We're still waiting to see pit. He very well might come in this time. And there, John and McKellar side by side. They need to be oh so close to the Milo teammates when they clear their pit stops. Russell Clark's pit stop is done and he's rolling already.
Yeah, he's on the move already, so he'll have speed working against him, and obviously cold tyres as these top split cars come down the main straight into this braking zone. 2 Milo cars come out in front of them, but by the time the tyres get up to temperature on those Milo skippies, I'd suggest these top split green cars are going to be right on their rear wing.
4 wide for a second there with Lee Harrison, McKellar, John, and Nathan Verney coming off the pit lane. But they kept it all together. Harrison's starting to get a little bit feisty. So the top split guys have cleared the Locked On iRacing races, but they've still got a lot of work to do with Donald Sabanel. And then Russell Clark, another 2.5 seconds up the road. I reckon if Sabanel wants to be a good friend, he could do a lot for Russell Clark right now.
The Harrison there at the moment is my pick to really mix things up, because he started a long way back at the beginning of this race, all those many laps ago, back in 23rd. So he's finding himself comfortably in the top 10 after his pit stop, and seems to be working well with these top split TV green cars. He might actually find himself with a team invite the way he's going at the moment.
Now, I wonder, is he still with Slipstream? I think that's the livery he's still rocking. So for John and McKellar, if they want the win, they've got to clear Sabanel super quickly. They are bearing down on him like a pack of hungry wolves. Not really going to get him before Ascari, best I can tell. And then it'll be the white flag the lap after. Clark still has 2.5 second lead. He's doing everything he can to hold on to that one. Again,
There'll be mind games being played as the drivers are well aware they're about to get the white flag this time round. I think Russell Clark's got nothing to worry about at the moment, but there'll be definitely fighting position and not necessarily in front of the group with this group of 4 in 1 lap's time.
Alex John successfully ambushed John Sabinell. Lee Harrison's trying to come around the outside. And then McKellar, does he split the middle, split the difference, make it 3 wide? He's going to try to follow the slipstream of his teammate and have Alex John pull him out of this quagmire and up into 3rd place. That is solid teamwork. But starting the final lap of the race, Russell Clark 2.4 seconds ahead. Is that an insurmountable gap? His tyres will be pretty close to up to temperature now, despite the rampage of the dark green TSTVs.
Yeah, Harrison there splitting the top split TV cars again. So he has just proven to be a thorn in their side. He looked like he was working with them, but now last lap, white flag has been shown, and everybody out there from themselves. No favours being thrown at the moment from Lee Harrison.
Championship-wise, it's McKellar up into 2nd. That's the best he'd really hoped for, points-wise. He's got John battling Harrison, battling Sabinell, keeping them at bay. I think this is good for McKellar to get clear of the others, to make another podium and continue to score good points. Championship-wise, that's what he would be hoping for out of this one. 2.1 seconds to the lead. He's taken half a second out of it, but you'd want to be within a second now. Picking up the slipstream on the way down to Ascari, picking up the slipstream towards Parabolica. It's almost too late, even if he did have a lot of overspeed compared to Russell Clark. Clark is he's living on borrowed time, but luckily the checkered flag isn't too far away from him. And then also you can see right-hand side of your screen, Mackenzie, Baldwin, Hancock. Good race for all of those guys because they are +4, +6, and +6 positions respectively. They've done well in this longer form pit stop race to pick up some positions from where they qualified. But it's one more corner to go for Russell Clark to try to bring this one home. McKellar, John Harrison, that is all closing up, and they're going to be hoping to get cleanly through the final corner. The teammates are going to battle. Lee Harrison, what is he going to do to play Joker in the pack? Are they going to try to frame another photo finish here? It's not going to be for the win, though, because Russell Clark is going to be first to the checkered flag. As long as he makes it there, stop being a showboat before the checkered flag, and then for 2nd and 3rd, I think Alex John has got it from McKellar, then Lee Harrison. Good race, though. Great strategy from Russell Clark. Really good pit stop. Let him come out with just the space to hold on to the win. Here's another photo finish. Mackenzie trying to get around the outside of Baldwin. And by the nose he barely only has, Baldwin has held on to that one.
Yeah, if he didn't have a whack in the nose, he might have got that one at the line, but not to be. So we've still got a few cars here going side by side through Parabolica for the finish. The race isn't over for some of these guys as they sort themselves out.
David Summers will be thinking himself a lucky boy as he leads this pack to the checkered flag in the number 10. Because he's come from the very back of the grid to go +14 positions and hold on to the pressure from all these behind. RF Elberg, Ash Knowles, Craig Kerman, Anthony Connors, Darren Lasue in that as well. So good stuff from Summers with a bit of late race pressure to move forward from the qualifying. And then there's a big lap around here. There is just a little bit of walking wounded.
Is that? I don't think that's Sean Doyle there we're watching, is it, at the moment? Okay. Sean, I do know, actually exited the session after major carnage and damage throughout the race, so that's Sean Carey there crossing the line and getting the checkered flag from Barney.
No doubt. So then your winner for the feature race 2, Russell Clark from Alex John and Alex McKellar. Not quite the photo finish we saw in race 1, but still pretty close between 2nd and 3rd there, and Lee Harrison right with them as well. Don Sabinell must have picked up a slowdown on the final lap because he dropped back from the group he was battling with. And then it's Nathan Verney, James Chastanoff, Braden Martin falling back in the order a little bit to 8th. Brady Baldwin and Sean Mackenzie we saw battling on the final lap as well for the final spots in our top 10.
Dennis Hancock just outside the top 10 tonight, finishing 23 seconds off the pace of the leaders in P11. Jamie Willett's doing very well there in P number 12. followed across the line by Jeremy Bush and Farron Hancock's in P14. I think that's almost where he started. Tim Cornt there in 15th. Peter Wilkinson actually having a pretty good race there, sneaking in 16th position. Ira Felberg following him across the line. Then it is Craig Kerman, Anthony Connors, and Ash Knowles, and that's your top 20 tonight.
And then, of course, it becomes a little bit of a tale of woe further down. Darren Lasue, David Summers, Jason Gain, Leon Williams, Philip Paradiso. And then we saw the last two cars on the lead lap, Sean Carey and Greg Holmes, with a little bit of damage, making sure that they completed the full complement of 12 laps. One lap down for Simon Dobner. I think we saw him spin into the wall, did we not? So good of him to make sure he finished out the race. And then retirements, Matthew Mites, Sean Doyle, and critically, Ben Snell, second in the championship before tonight. And that is a DNF back of the field in the big points paying race. It is so tough to make up that kind of ground. So he won't be well pleased at all. But some of the people who will be well pleased, we are going to speak to now. What do you reckon? I think we go race 2 winner, Russell Clark. Welcome to the Simspeed commentary box. These pit stop races are always kind of interesting from an outside perspective where we're watching the timings. But when you're, working together with your teammate, having, stayed out late like that, what kind of picture do you have of how well you're doing and if you're going to rejoin the race and still in the lead?
It's mostly a matter of hoping for the best, really. We keep a vague eye on the first of the guys that have pitted and see if he's catching us or not. And it may incline us to pit earlier, perhaps, but usually it's better to just stay out and do as few laps as possible on the crappy tyres. And in this occasion, it worked. Unfortunately, Ben couldn't stick with us, and Donald's pit crew cost him a few seconds at the end. So, yeah. I was thinking we might have had a Milo podium knockout at one point, but no, unfortunately not. Well,
certainly working with Sabanel there, it looked like it helped your pace. The big slipstream at the Temple of Speed. What's he going to get for Christmas for helping you to this win?
Hugs, lots of hugs. There's always hugs. It's just a shame he couldn't get the P2 as well.
Yeah, and free hugs aren't exactly the compensation he wants, but still position 5 in race number 1 to race number 2 tonight. So that'll help his championship cause with only one race to go.
Yeah, we may have closed in slightly on the top split boys in the team's championship too. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, a good result for you guys and flying your flag and your colours regardless. 4th in race 1, 1st in race 2 is good points for you, good points for the team. Who are you going to thank?
No one. I don't really like anyone. But shout out to Donna Doyle, best mum in the league, and also Ben says hi.
I was so close to kicking you out of the commentary box when you said no one, and then to make sure that that was the sour note you left on. But thank you for joining us.
Anytime. Have a good one.
Race 2 winner there, Russell Clark, obviously the jokester, and always got something to say. So I reckon we might bring up our second place getter tonight in race number 2 in the form of Alex John. So we welcome Alex to the commentary box. Your race was pretty well action-packed there, Alex, as it unfolded over the 12 laps.
Yeah, sort of out alone. We had this fantastic plan that teammates would pit together and work together, and then Alex had a terrible stop, like 3 seconds longer than me. So it was in no man's land for a long time until we got to the end and could work together for a couple of laps. But damage was already done by then, but still good fun.
Yeah, well, we could see the 2 Milo cars out in front working together and obviously slipstreaming each other and jumping each other. And as the race unfolded, we could see teammate Alex McKellar there slowly creeping onto the back of you. And it was always pretty obvious what was going to happen. But you also had the company of Lee Harrison there as well. So that probably wasn't part of the initial strategy plan you spoke about at the beginning of the race. But definitely the company of Lee there helped Alex jump onto the back of you relatively quickly once their pit stop had got underway.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. It certainly wasn't in the plan, and it certainly made the last couple of laps interesting, trying to fend him off and trying to give each other as much draft assistance as we could. So a bit of car positioning, a bit of teamwork. That certainly spiced things up.
So as far as team championship goes, second and third on the podium tonight for race number 2 is a brilliant result. So that'll be a factor you'll obviously consider going into the final round next week, being round number 6.
Yeah, I think it's Russell and Donald that we have to worry about. And they had a reasonable night tonight, but yeah, I think we've done enough to hang on for first place.
So don't count your chickens just yet, but great result nonetheless. Would you like to thank anyone before we bring your teammate into the commentary box?
Yeah, look, just I'll thank Alex. He did a good job tonight. He's got a cool head, and he's doing a good job. Hopefully he can take home the Drivers' Championship, and we'll have a good one next week to take home the teams.
Thanks, Alex, for joining us tonight. Second here in race number 2, 14th in race number 1, but certainly redeemed himself and will be finishing the night with a big smile on his face after that result.
Thanks, guys.
And goodbye, Alex. Hello, Alex McKellar. You're going to order a recount on that race 1 result, because what an amazingly close finish that was. A real, true in the sense of the word, photo finish.
Yeah, absolutely. G'day, David, Jason, Jay. That was a really fun race, and big shout out to Ben both for that race. And I felt gutted for him in the second one. I didn't see the incident where his car broke, but to be in the fight for the championship and go out that way is really disappointing. So, and he's just a great competitor and a great guy to race with. So shout out to Ben. But look, that first race, Ben and I and a few of the other guys were in Discord together, and it's like we're backing a horse into the line. Who's going to get it? And we don't even know the gap. It was 000s in the iRacing timing. So you can't get close to that. And honestly, you can't get better racing or more fun than that.
It's great to see how hard you guys were fighting, how close it was, but also, respect given, it really could have ended in tears. Monza is kind of known for that, especially the Concertina down towards turn 1. Plenty of opportunity for you to tangle with your rivals, and for you, 2 clean races.
Yeah, look, I did grab 1X in the second race, which cost me a couple of championship points, but all in the name of fun, right? You're right. The driving standard out there in the group that I was in both races was excellent, and there was a mixture of teammates and guys I hadn't raced with before as well. Shout out to Lee Harrison in the second race. I hadn't raced much with Lee, so I was a bit nervous, and we tripped over each other to begin with after my poor pit stop, but we ended up working well together and getting back on and almost coming through, so it speaks a testament to the driving standard and the approach to the racing out there throughout the field, honestly. So great big shout out to the guys.
Stella McKellar, one hand on the cup now. Then, as we head to Kota next week, is that going to be on your mind, or do you take races separately as they come?
Oh, it's been on my mind for a while. I came in wanting to really have a good crack at it. So, as I was just saying to AJ before, I went into tonight thinking championship, but then you get near the front and you just want to win the thing. So, the plan will be to focus on the championship, hang on to the lead, and have a clean race next week, much like tonight. So, whatever be or whatever may come, as long as it's fun, it's a good night.
No wins at Monza, but 2 times on that glorious podium. Many digitally scanned faces cheering for you. Must be a good feeling. Who you're going to thank?
Yeah, it is, mate. It was an enjoyable night. Thank you to the guys that we race with out there. As I said, they are what makes it an enjoyable night. Ira and his crew for putting on such a great championship. As I say, he keeps making it interesting, and that keeps bringing us back, which is fantastic. To AJ, my teammate, it's always a pleasure, and we work well together, so it's fun. And to you guys putting on the broadcast, looking forward to watching it back as always. So thanks, guys.
Delightful. See you around. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.
So that just about wraps us up from Italy here tonight after round number 5, as we look at the screen now and we get a bit of a glimpse as to where we're heading to next week. The Circuit of the Americas. It's a long track. It's a wide track. and a very flowing track. There's some heavy braking zones, but certainly lots of flowing corners, David. So slipstreaming will be critical, and could play out to a fantastic grand finale for what's been an awesome season.
Yeah, that back straight almost longer than anything here at Monza, but the S's in the opening part of the lap really going to potentially punish cold tyres. That's our theme for the season, though, is Grand Prix, and we've gone to a lot of Grand Prix venues, and this is one to bring us home, Circuit of the Americas. And doesn't it look beautiful? So make sure you follow us here on Simspeed TV, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch. That's where you can catch us next week. Wednesday night for Ozicar Formula V and Thursday night for Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series. Both of them awesome action. Both of them a delight to be on, and both of them very well worth the watch. So that's all from Monza, though. Thank you to series partners Simfinity, Locked On iRacing Podcast, Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and 24/7 Race Control. From us and all of them, we'll see you next week.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?